Hey guys, welcome back. So today I got a very special episode for you that's been 9 years in the making. And what better way to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi than by unboxing this thing that I cannot believe I'm saying this. Today I received the EFX Collectibles Biker Scout Helmet Legend Edition. Legend Edition. Yeah, that's right. Now we've been waiting for this for 9 years, so let's not waste any time and go look at it. So here it is. And while I'm unboxing this, let's talk about the history of this helmet and kind of what's been going on in the last 9 to 10 years. So let's flash back to 2012, 2013. EFX announced that they were going to be putting out the Biker Scout helmet, which a lot of fans were very anxious to get. Obviously it's a fan favorite. And they announced that they were going to release two different versions of it. They were going to release a fiberglass limited edition version and a legend edition, which was going to be kind of more true to the original screen use prop, just from everything from, the way it was made, ABS plastic, vacuum formed, and to the rough paint job that they used for Return of the Jedi. Now, EFX was coming from a very successful launch of the Vader helmet, which they kind of did the same thing. They launched a limited edition and a legend edition. And the legend edition would kind of just still be kind of wonky, right? The face was wonky. The paint job was rough, just like the original one was. And then, of course, the limited was a little more cleaned up, more symmetrical. So again, they were trying to replicate that same, process and lineage with the Legend Edition. And of course, the Legend Edition would come with a signature plaque. The Vader helmet came with Brian Muir's signature plaque, and this one, it was supposed to come with the Nilo Rodis-Jamero signature. And it was intended to be kind of a tribute to the designers of these helmets. And EFX Collectibles has access to the Lucasfilm archives. And lucky for them, Lucasfilm had the original wooden patterns that they used to make the Biker Scout helmets. So they were pretty much set up to create this Biker Scout helmet exactly like the way the ILM team did it for the movie. So they went into the archives and they basically used those patterns to make the helmet. Sounds easy enough, right? Well, here we are 9 years later. So let's talk about that. So the pre-orders went live in 2014, and I actually was one of the first ones on there. I literally secured mine probably about 3 minutes after the release date, because that's how these props work, right? They sell out really quick. And then obviously, if you get them in the aftermarket, they're super expensive. So I secured mine early on. And you got to remember, these were actually in pre-production way before the pre-order went live. So probably around 2012, they're already in pre-production. And any pre-authorizations that EFX had from Lucasfilm now had to kind of restart because, as we all remember, in 2012, Disney bought out Lucasfilm, which caused a little bit of a delay. Obviously, it had to go through, new authorization process. But everything seemed to be kind of going as planned. And maybe around 2016 is when we kind of first heard that there was something wrong. All right, now before I get back into the story, let's see what's in here. So the base obviously has changed throughout the years. Originally, it was going to be kind of a flat museum style base like the other products. And eventually it kind of turned into this, which I was a little hesitant about because I'm not the biggest fan of kind of themed bases, but this looks awesome. I'm very surprised. Obviously, the Endor bunker They did it in a very classy way. And yes, the gun is stuck to the base. You cannot take that off. I'll explain why in a little bit. Now let's look at the helmet. And the first thing I can tell you is that it's much lighter than the limited edition version, obviously, because this is ABS plastic. And this thing is beautiful. I mean, the dimensions are spot on. The gap is not there. Yes, the infamous gap, which we'll also talk about a little bit later in this video. It opens up, fully padded. This thing is beautiful. I cannot believe I have this in my hands. And people were actually complaining about the paint job on here, on the weathering, because they're saying that it looks like just overspray, like somebody took some spray paint and spray painted it. But let me show you something. Now, there are a lot of Biker Scout helmets that they use for Return of the Jedi. Some clean, some weathered. The one that they picked in the archives has the same type of paint scheme. The same splatter that you see there is exactly like the screen used one. So before anyone goes and complains about the paint splatter, that's how it is. And that's how the helmet is in the archives. But okay, let's go back to, the timeline. So we're in 2016, we hear about this first Chinese company shutting down. And this is kind of the start of this long string of bad luck for EFX, because what happened is the Chinese company that was going to mass produce these, they had already sent their masters. They had already been working back and forth to create the master patterns. They went out of business. And along with that, they ended up keeping the original master of the helmets, the patterns. So EFX kind of had to restart from scratch and create new masters to send to another Chinese company. And that right there caused the first major delay on this project. But around that time, EFX kind of admitted that, hey, look, it's been taking too long. We want to make it up to the people that pre-order these. So around 2016, they decided to send a free Darth Vader PCR helmet to anybody that had pre-ordered this helmet, kind of as a, sorry for the delay. And all of us received a Darth Vader PCR helmet, which now those things sell for over $1,000. And there were continuing to be delays, for another couple years. And then in 2018, they finally released the limited edition version, which everyone was super excited about. And, when people started receiving them, people started complaining about the gap, the visor gap, which I'll explain right now and I'll show you because I'm going to put it next to this one. But in 2018, again, we got the limited and everyone was excited about the limited and, kind of restored our faith a little bit on this project. Well, fast forward a couple more years, COVID happens and, another factory shuts down and another set of masters are lost and they have to restart the process. And this time, because of the delays, because of COVID, it just further delays the process. So again, fast forward now another few years, there's a change in management in the company and the stars align and manufacturing processes align, and finally they're able to finish the Legend Scout Trooper. And here it is. And it is just beautiful. And I'm just so happy to finally have it. It's been one of these mythical prop replicas, right? I know a lot of people were upset about it, and rightfully so. And I think EFX has taken responsibility multiple times, whether it was, giving out the free Vader helmet or even just acknowledging that, there was a lot of delays that shouldn't have happened, but here we are and here it is. And admittingly, EFX had to, make some modifications to the process of making the helmet just because the original prop was actually not very strong, right? You got to remember it's ABS plastic, that tends to warp, it tends to crack, chip, and obviously you're paying $1,000. You want to have something that's a little more resilient. And after some back and forth with Lucasfilm, they finally decided to kind of do this hybrid process where they would do the face mask in the original style, the vacuum formed ABS plastic, but the dome and the helmet were actually created with the very specific modified 3D printing process to just make it more durable and just more sturdy, right? I'm glad they did, because the 3D technology that they used literally mimics the same width, the feel. I mean, it literally feels like the ABS plastic is just going to be sturdier. So that way you're not getting these cracks or, warps, years down the line. As you can see here, the gap is gone because since it's still ABS, it has the flexibility like the original ones, as opposed to fiberglass that they use for the LEs. They didn't have to cut that 1/2 inch to clear the helmet. And yes, that gap on the LE was intentional. Now, the other change from the original listing is the blaster. And the blaster also caused a lot of the delays because there was a tightened kind of restriction on firearm shaped replicas at the time. So the blaster ended up having to be fixed onto the base in order to get, this whole prop approved. So yes, that gun does not come off the base. It is permanently affixed to it. There's no way to take it off. And honestly, I mean, it's not a huge deal because you're going to display it there anyways. The gun still has lineage. It still is coming from, one of the original production made blasters. So it definitely has lineage. And again, instead of it having it separate where you could kind of pick it up, now it just stuck to the base. I know a lot of you are going to be upset about that, but look, at this point, it was either this or no blaster. So, at least you have another little piece of history right there attached to the base. And the bunker base is actually really cool. And of course, not to mention that this is a signature edition, right? And it's super limited. There's only 500 of these. And you're going to get Nilo Rodis-Jamero's autograph on there, which, I mean, his autograph alone is a few $100s, right? So even just this plaque makes it worth it. So now let's do something really cool. And let's put the limited edition, which is on the left, next to the legend edition, which is on the right. And kind of just compare and contrast them, right? Kind of seeing the basic differences. Right off the bat, you could see the color is actually different. And of course, the legend is the true color, which is kind of a little bit brighter, true white, as opposed to the limited edition. It's a little bit more on the creamy side. But look, there you go, right? The limited edition kind of always had some issues because they had to make it out of fiberglass. And of course, these helmets were never intended to be fiberglass. So as you could see, some of the gaps, unfortunately, were just very prominent. And on the legend, it's fixed because, again, it's back to the original kind of style and process that they used in the films, right? The ABS plastic. And then again, the thickness of it, has a lot to do with it. From the back, you kind of can't tell the difference. There's not, too many differences there. But again, the gap, right? The legend fixes it because it's made how it's supposed to be made. And one of the biggest complaints of the limited edition, of course, was the visor gap, right? I'm sure everybody remembers when that limited edition helmet came out and everyone was complaining about the visor gap. Well, the reason they had to do that is because originally they made them out of fiberglass. So fiberglass doesn't have that flexibility that ABS plastic would have. So they decided to accommodate the fiberglass and it not scratching the helmet every time you lift it up. They decided to cut about 1/2 inch off of the interior part of the visor in order to accommodate the face mask going up. So, as everyone was complaining about it and saying, oh my God, look at that mistake. I can't believe EFX made that mistake. Well, it wasn't a mistake. That was intentional. That right there was intentional because they had to accommodate the lack of flexibility that the fiberglass, I guess, didn't have, right? And as you could see here, I took out a tape measure just to kind of show you. So the actual visor doesn't change. They're both about 7 inches from front to back. But what is different is the area from the helmet to the visor. And again, that's what they ended up cutting, about 1/2 inch from the limited edition one, which again, it totally makes sense. So yeah, so it's about 1/2 inch. But overall, I'm really happy how the Legend came out. Again, it displays really nice. Look at, I mean, the bunker, again, I was skeptical about it, but having it in hand, it actually adds this really nice touch to it. But honestly, what I'm most excited about is EFX and them actually delivering the products that they promised us so many years ago. I mean, think about it. Just this year alone, we ended up getting the Han Solo dice finally. We got the Legend Scout Trooper helmet in. I know the Dark Ray lightsaber is coming soon. And they just announced the pre-order for the armor helmet, and they have a bunch of other Mandalorian and Ahsoka props in the works. So I'm just really excited to see, what EFX comes up with. I've always been a big fan of their products, and I'm just so happy that they're back and they're actually shipping stuff out. So there it is, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it somewhat educational regarding the delays. And I hope you enjoyed this close-up look at the Legend Scout Trooper helmet. Guys, don't forget, subscribe, like, comment, and make sure you ring the notification bell so you don't miss the next video. Thanks, guys.